Now, the satanic cult has been telling its communities of faithful believers, by way of its religious authority figures, over whom the few paranoid, oppressive, violent people have gained influence, that the American people are in rebellion against God. Judgment must befall the American people because they're in rebellion. And of course, who would, do you think, benefit? Who would accrue a benefit from this judgment befalling the American people? Well, of course, it would be the few paranoid, oppressive, violent people who concentrate wealth and commit power in their own hands, wouldn't it? So it's all very self-serving, isn't it? Buying influence or otherwise gaining influence over religious authority figures, and then having those religious authority figures tell their communities of faithful believers, their slaves, that go to the polls and vote for politicians who will enact policies, and these policies will then enable the few paranoid, oppressive, violent people to further concentrate wealth and commit power into their own hands and best satisfy their special needs and aspirations. Their special needs and aspirations are achieve and maintain authority, power, order, and control. So they're slave drivers, they're religious authority figures in their institutions of spiritual slavery, their religious organizations, have told their slaves, the communities of faithful believers, that the few paranoid, oppressive, violent people are representatives of the good entity. The few paranoid, oppressive, violent people are divinely ordained to rule. The few paranoid, oppressive, violent people are doing the will of the good entity. The will of the good entity is, in fact, the will of the few paranoid, oppressive, violent people. And the only way to avoid an afterlife of abominable infernal torment and punishment for all eternity is to do the will of the good entity. In other words, do the will of the few paranoid, oppressive, violent people. And they paint the final victory of the few paranoid, oppressive, violent people over the outsiders, who they describe as agents of the evil entity. So they portray the few paranoid, oppressive, violent people who rule over domestic territories as waging a final, necessary, horrible war against the outsiders, and afterwards achieving final victory, and then judging all people. Now, some people would say, well, that's not what it's about. It's about God judging all people, right? Well, again, going back to projection theory, these pessimistic myths suggest truths about our set of living arrangements here on the material plane. Therefore, they are more about the material plane than they are about the spiritual realm. And as a matter of fact, from the point of view as a person who believes in the value of the most optimistic myths, their pessimistic myths about the spiritual realm have no significance within the spiritual realm beyond their entertainment value. If this is the case, then why is this being allowed to go on? Why is, the infinite divine eternal being allowing this to happen? Again, from the infinite divine eternal being follows the principle of infinite abundance. It doesn't matter what happens on planet Earth. It's just an entertainment. If all life goes extinct on planet Earth prematurely due to our belief in the value of pessimistic myths, then the show will move on to another venue. We don't even really know what this is. There's been a lot of speculation as to whether or not this is a simulation of some sort. Reality is the way things appear to be. Actuality is the way things actually are. We don't know the way things actually are. We just know the way things appear to be. It appears the universe is 13.8 billion years old, according to scientists. And that's just the present figure. They might change it sometime down the road. You never know. They're always making new discoveries, discovering new theories, and these new theories supplant older theories. But at the moment, they believe that the universe is 13.8 billion years old, or it appears to be 13.8 billion years old. And they don't know really whether it is or not. It could be a simulation. It could be that the simulation started only thousands of years ago. However, the simulation was built such that it gives the appearance of a universe that appears to be 13.8 billion years old. But in reality, it's just a simulation. Maybe we've gone down this path before, and maybe there's a reset button. Okay, well, we messed that level up. So let's reset, go back, and try again. You've been generous with your time and energy. Thank you for your generosity. Your generosity is an inspiration. You inspire me. I wish us happiness, good health, and prosperity. I offer you my best regards.